This is One on One with Jasper Cole, Hollywood's bad guy, and so much more. Actor, talent manager, producer, and more. Now he's sitting down with today's top newsmakers from entertainment, politics, pop culture, and beyond. This is One on One with Jasper Cole.
Hello. Well, Jasper's not going to be sitting down with anybody today. He's actually lying down in a hospital bed. He's recovering from a back surgery. So myself and John are going to... producer booker for Jasper Cole. One-on-one with Jasper Cole.
And your name
Dominic.
is?
And sitting across from me is John Williams.
Hello.
Our producer. And sitting right across from me is Aida Rodriguez.
What's up?
Badass
Aida.
comedian.
Yay.
We are so excited to have in studio with us.
I'm excited to be here.
So we're going to kick it off with some hot topics. There's a lot of shit going on in this world right now that we really need to discuss. And then we'll get back and focus on you and your career.
No. Let's talk about it.
So, I mean, last night, obviously in politics, we had a lot happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you heard that Trump was literally, I forget how the tweet went from the RNC president or the head of the RNC, that he's basically has a nomination.
Yeah. Well, Ted. Yeah. When I knew it was over for Ted when
he's forgettable. Don't worry about it.
When Carly fell. I said this.
Or after she sang, maybe.
Oh well,
that was wasn't it like she just like fell through the stage door?
She felt like Diddy at the BET Awards, and nobody helped her, and that they just kept on like business as usual.
And then with Ted, after he said he was suspending his race, he like elbowed his wife in the face and whacked her, and I'm just like, is he just? I mean, it's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah, it was a Freudian slip. No,
but what do you think the thinking was behind that? Because it was like what, a week ago that he announced Fiorina was his running partner.
Yeah.
Was she supposed to like
help the situation?
Help the situation.
The woman who created the story about the seeing the babies on the table. Remember, she made that up.
Yeah.
I think that I don't know. I think that the whole thing is just like a circus. But I really believe that Donald Trump has the keys to everybody's closet, and they have a lot of skeletons in the closet. Everybody was like, "Yep, I give Uncle." You saw John Kasich today. Uncle, they all gave. I want to know what Donald Trump, because you know Donald, he goes dirty.
Wait, if you remember, I was going to say, you remember when Donald Trump, he did make that threat against Ted Cruz about his wife, which never kind of ever came to fruition. I think people kind of forgot about it. But if you think back, he always kind of put these little pieces out there like, don't push me too far. Don't test me, right?
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you this, I actually have history with him. I worked on The Apprentice early on. He is a piece of work.
I mean, obviously.
Share, Dominic. Share.
You gotta remember, this was during the days before he started spouting off and showing his true self, his true colors. He's a lunatic.
Yeah.
We knew it then. Working on the show, he was. There's no else. I mean, it was. I don't know how to explain. Like, people couldn't even deal with him. He just the ego bigger than life. But it was. And even then, everything that came out of his mouth. Behind the scenes, we're always questioning what he was saying because nobody. Because there's never anything to kind of substantiate what he said about himself or his success in this, right?
He's never been able to.
And even then, let me just tell you this. Even then, it was known he is not a billionaire.
No.
He's not. And quit calling himself that. He gave himself that title. It's kind of like Janice Dickinson calling herself the world's first supermodel. Yeah. I love Janice, but come on, girl. But,
It's so interesting that you would say their names in one sentence because they're kind of like the same person. They're like both, like, she's like the Donald Trump of models.
I love that.
And he's the Janice Dickinson of entrepreneurs. I think anybody who saw the movie Idiocracy
I have.
Can say this is like finally it's coming.
It's coming,
right? He's like President Camacho.
And I ask you being a Latina,
yes,
correct? When you find out that there's people from your own community that are voting for him, what is your reaction?
Well, I mean, I believe self-hate is real amongst all of us, and I think that there are some Latinos that want to identify with being white or being something else because they see that as being upwardly mobile, and it's just a form of self-hate. Does
it have to do with something with like the class system a little bit? Because
I think so. I believe so. Like a lot of the Republicans that are specifically from South Florida, they don't want to identify with Mexicans. Immigration is not really an issue for Cuban Americans because Cuban Americans have political asylum. so they don't have to deal with the immigration issue that Mexicans and other people have to deal with. So I just think that I think that there is some self-hating, and I think that also there's a lot of frustrated people in the country who lack information, and because someone is sounding like the frustration that they're feeling,
right,
they're identifying with this frustration, and they see Donald Trump and they're like, oh, this guy is telling the truth. He's telling his truth. He's spinning the truth. He's not telling the truth.
And part of it too is he's sounding off about all the problems in our country, which are real problems. We have to give him credit for that.
But no solutions.
But he's also attributing the problems to the wrong people.
Oh yeah.
And just placing blame, and that's really what Americans are known for. We just want to place blame somewhere.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it too. Is like, hey, look, it's the forgive me, it's the Mexicans, it's the Muslims.
Yeah.
And it just gives us an excuse instead of looking at ourselves.
And the media is depicting him as being very successful, so they're looking to him.
Well, the media is having a field day with this situation.
Well, I'm saying
you
prior.
gotta remember, he doesn't buy ads. Like, he's done this all, and that's kind of like
he doesn't. Listen, I was tracking him, and I remember for 15 days straight, he was on the top headlines on my phone, on my iPhone.
Yeah.
When the headlines, so he was like the top 5 headlines every day for like 15 days. It was so bad that Kim Kardashian dropped a nude selfie. She was like, Trump is not going to Trump me. She was like, you know what? I'm tired of this.
Yeah.
Crank up a selfie.
Well, damn it, she's not doing her job because she should have been dropping more. Or something.
No, he's not.
Kick him out of the headlines.
He's actually really been trumping them, pun intended. He really has been. And it's kind of refreshing not to see the Kardashians on the headlines all the time. But
I'd rather have Kim than Donald personally. But
yeah, but I just think that, the more we see him, the more we can watch him. What I think is most interesting.
Question, can I ask you, sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
But do you, even though he's going to receive the Republican nomination, do you think that he has a chance at the White House?
I didn't think George Bush did. And you saw what happened there.
Yeah,
so
true.
I don't know anymore. I mean, I don't know anymore with the things that people do and what they're capable of, and the corporate interests and what's going on in the country.
Right.
I mean, I do think we're in need of a revolution, and I understand why those people are so frustrated. I get it. Even the ones that follow Trump, I understand their frustration. But I just think, like you said, the blame is being placed on the wrong people.
Absolutely.
And those that don't have an education or don't have the information, they don't know what's going on.
But, it's interesting because a lot of reports have been coming out this morning after last night's news that, I mean, there's, card-holding Republicans that are burning their cards. They're going to switch parties because no matter, how conservative they are, they would never in their wildest dreams or their, in any election ever vote for Donald because he's just not, he doesn't represent anything that's American to me.
Well, do you think it has to do with financial? Do you think that they think he is successful in the financial?
They do. I've had this argument. So many people still say, "Oh, the billionaire."
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's not a billionaire. Like, stop calling him that.
But like you
those
said,
are the
people
people
are not looking at the research, right?
Those are the people that watch the Orange County Housewives. Those are you know what I mean?
Stop, girl.
Those are the people that are.
I take it you don't watch Beverly Hills Reunion last night.
No,
Part 3.
I didn't. But I think that's part of the problem. I think it's just a lack
Spoon-fed,
of information, and they think they see successful, and they think they think, oh my God, he's a successful businessman. Why? Because he tells you that. He is.
Well, and you got to remember that.
And The Apprentice, right?
I was going to say a lot of that came out of that
show. That's a reality show.
Yeah, no, but
it's television.
Let me
it's
just
not
tell
business.
that
Corporate America.
That show was rigged.
No, I mean, I know.
It was rigged. It was a rigged show.
It's a reality show.
No, but it was rigged. We knew who the winners was before they went to the boardroom.
Yeah, no. I mean, I believe all of that, but I just still think, if you gauge business by, if that's
reality
the case,
show.
about reality show, then, everybody that tells you what they are on reality television, that's what they are. If that's what we're going to... But I just think
people forget that it's so produced, and they have storyline editors, and it's it's interesting. And actually, it's so funny because we work on Love and Hip Hop, and something happened last night with they're filming the new season for Hollywood, and one of the cast members went off and said, because you guys are believing everything you see on TV. No, they don't pay for our cars. They don't pay for our houses. They don't pay for this. She's quitting the show because they're not paying her.
No, because they don't.
But she's like, you're buying into what you're seeing on TV. Yeah. That's not real life. Like, we don't have cameras 24 hours a day. It's a story. It's a storyline. We're produced. You walk from this point to that point and say this.
It's called scripted reality.
It's scripted reality, and just like politics, Hollywood.
Getting to that point, because you obviously work in entertainment, that's a really fine line, because if it's scripted, then they have to go through the union. There has, you know what I'm saying?
It's dirty. It's a dirty business, and I'm glad it's starting to fail, because now, we can get back to real storytelling, and writers can get respected, and I think that what was funny is that these people all believe what Donald Trump is telling them, but they don't realize the limited power that the president has, because every president gives you a list of promises before they go into office, and then midway you hear the disappointment echoed through the people, and so they really think that Donald Trump is going to get into the White House and do what he did on The Apprentice and say, "Hey,
you're fired."
But also look at his professional track record. You got to remember, his Trump University case is going to trial in a month.
Oh yeah.
We're going to see him on trial.
And the wine?
For being fraudulent. You got to remember, how many companies has he bankrupted? It's like people ignore this, and it's like he basically used loopholes in our legal system to get to where he's at, and to. I mean, there's just so many failed ventures, and it's. In the business world, he's a joke.
Yeah.
But for some reason, and I hate to say it, but I was part of that machine years ago, and I regret it. But I was part of that machine that blew The Apprentice up and built his image up.
Wow. Well, shame on you, because look at...
No, and I am, and that's why I'm working so hard.
Chickens are coming home to roost.
Because I feel the burn, and I just feel like, it's like... But it's a reality check. You got to remember that.
Well, do you think there's any place for him in government at all?
No. He
I don't mean
experience.
in as president, but I mean in other positions.
He shouldn't be the mayor of a town of 1,000 people. Okay. I mean, he shouldn't be the mayor of his buildings.
He feels like a lobbyist to me.
So you don't want to make him like Secretary of the Treasury or anything like that?
No, I mean that's where he
needs
to
stay.
He needs to stay away from there the most, right?
It's funny. Just if he wants to just be this tyrant, just go to a remote island, bring your own inhabitants and rule your own little world, but don't ruin our country.
I mean, he'd be good. He'd be good to lobby, because he's really convincing. I mean, look what he's done.
But the thing is his whole. Do you ever read the transcripts of his speech? Which half the time is complete nonsense. It doesn't make sense, and they've actually done analysis of it. People who study speech patterns, and it's like crazy talk. Yeah. And it's the way that it hits you subconsciously. He was trained to do that.
Well, he knows what he's dealing with. Yeah. He knows where we are now, and he knows that.
And he still thinks he's building this wall, and people believe it. And when people say that, I just kind of look at them like.
I like the Mexican people's response. Yeah, right.
It's like
and the president was like, "Not a damn chance."
And who's building this wall? I'm gonna make Mexico pay for it. Really? Like
hilarious. But the people believe that, and they believe he's gonna fight ISIS, and they believe that he's going to.
And honestly, I hate giving him so much time, but it's like it just gets so frustrating when it's like people are just so ignorant, and I feel the same way. Sometimes about the Clintons too. When you look at their track record, and it's hard because I wanted to be behind her, but when you start reading into years and decades of their history, you're just like, what else are they going to get away with?
I can't talk about something that I don't know. I haven't read up on what's going on right now.
Whitewater, Cattlegate, the presidential pardons.
Yeah. No. I hear you.
I mean, it's decades and decades and decades.
Well, I'm not going to do what the Republicans are doing. I'm not dissing the Democrats because I think that is why they've crumbled from the inside out, and now the monster that they're created came back to crush them.
Yeah, no, but I think we're in an election season where thank God. We're seeing the failures in our government. We're seeing what can happen when we slip up as a society. And I think, without pushing any candidate, I think really a lot of us have realized that we all have a voice and can have a voice, hopefully.
Absolutely.
And that we should actually be involved. And I mean, it's like I don't remember any election years in the past when so many people were talking about the debates and and that's a positive. So I think people are really more invested, hopefully.
Well, I think that's really funny that, like I said, the level of belief that people have in Donald Trump is almost cult-like. Like, it's like David Koresh. Because, they believe he's going to build the wall. They believe he's going to get ISIS. They believe he's going to get Dorothy home. They believe that he's going to bring Tupac back.
Yeah.
They believe he's going to do the level, because he's already said it. He was like, they'll never turn on me. They believe it's like a cult, and it's like a mass hysteria of dumb.
Absolutely, but we're to that point. I think as a country that we're at our breaking point, and we really have to turn this country around, or it's some serious shit's gonna go down.
Yeah, no, I registered independent from the time I started voting, because I vote for causes and issues as opposed to people. But what are my choices right now?
Yeah,
right.
It's a circus. It's like the Willy Wonka chocolate factory.
And I think let's move from the country to the industry.
Absolutely.
And I know that you've been very vocal about this past award season. We had the Oscar So White dialogue start, and now just in the past few days, now it's the hashtag whitewashed out. And so tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, so who brought it to my attention was my girl Margaret Cho.
We love Margaret.
I love her too. So Margaret posted a tweet, and so I went to the hashtag, and I saw that Scarlett Johansson and Tilda Swinton, the whitest woman on the planet. She's whiter than Nicole Kidman.
She's transparent.
She's like milk. Yeah, is playing an Asian woman, and it's from the controversy with Zoe Saldana, which I spoke out, and it went viral, and people thought that I was dissing her, and I wasn't. I love Zoe Saldana. I'm a very big fan of hers and support her. She's my people, and I think she's beautiful and talented. But I thought that her playing Nina Simone was not a good choice because I believe that specifically because they had to put a prosthetic nose on her and paint her skin. And, Nina Simone was an advocate, an anti-colorism advocate, Absolutely. And she spoke so much about that and her pain. So I thought it was kind of a slap in the face. So then when I saw Emma Stone playing the Asian woman in the movie with Bradley Cooper, and then I saw that it's, a lot of people think it's malicious, but I'm starting to think that maybe it's a little bit of ignorance. And I think that the box office dollars drive so hard when it comes to making projects that these executives are not really thinking about the consequences of some of the choices that are making, and in the name of inclusion, they are missing the point. And I think that they want to attack the actors, and I'm really big on believing that people have to eat and they have to support and they have to take care of their households. But I'm also starting to believe that some of these actors are really believing in their privilege and not believing that they have to be accountable to the very people who made them successful in the first place. And I think that actors are going to have to start making better choices because, the Asian community is always, from the Indian to those that come from the Oriental sect, they are always being offended when it comes to casting. Aziz Ansari did a whole episode on his show about how they never have two Indian guys. Yeah. And then he also, and the guy in Close and Short Circuit was white. He wasn't even Indian. And so I just think that it's just gotten to the point. And I know white America, you get tired of hearing about this. This is not, when are they going to stop complaining? It's not your issue because everything that's been force fed to us has been white our whole lives. And now that we want to be seen and we want to be heard, it's frustrating to hear about it all the time. But it's just, I try to tell people, imagine running in a race and someone saying, wait, you can't start. And your opponent starts running and they get to run 8 laps before you. And then when you run, they tie one of your legs behind you and say, now catch up. And that's what it feels like being a minority in this country. And it's always trying to catch up without having the resources nor the tools to catch up. And you say we have education and you say we have this and in Hollywood we have that. No, we don't. If you look on every billboard, you will always see white people and you barely ever see people of color unless they're Denzel Washington or Will Smith or Kerry Washington. There is a wealth of actors that are people of color. just like the white ones that we see on billboards, and you white people don't even know who they are. You're like, who the hell is this chick? What TV show is this? We don't have that. And so we come to the box office. Asian Americans spend dollars at the box office. Latinos are one of the biggest consumer markets in this country. Black people go to the box office. So why can't we have representation? Why can't it just be fair? We're not asking to overthrow the white man and get rid of him. We're asking for a place at the table. We want to eat at the table. And I think it's just disrespectful. I think that people are, I don't think all executives are like that. I think some of them just don't care. They think they can do whatever they want, and the people they're insulting the intelligence of the consumer. They're like, oh, they're gonna go for this because it's Scarlett Johansson, and people said no.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at, for example, like Telemundo is owned by NBC Universal, and Telemundo quite often, or Univision, will be, if you look at the network rankings for the night, they'll be third, sometimes second, third, or they'll beat one or two other of our major networks in viewers for certain nights out of the week.
Right.
Which is interesting because they know. I guess my point is that at least NBC Universal will know that the power and the strength of the Hispanic viewers.
But
right?
are you talking specifically about the film business, or are you talking more about TV?
About
or all
both.
of it?
I'm talking about both. And I think that, it's very frustrating because people are afraid to be blackballed. People are afraid to get in trouble. They don't want to offend someone because then you don't work. But then
and
you're not
speaking
working
of it,
anyway.
Well, look at Margaret Cho. When she spoke out against ABC when American Girl was canceled, which is a horrific experience. And I think that I watched that comedy special over and over again because I think she makes such great points about it. When they were bringing in, her Asian advisor and whatever they call it, consultant, she had a hard time working after that in the industry. And for speaking out, and I think that's why it's so great that she's kind of come full circle. I think. She's back on top. She's worked hard though. Yeah,
and she realized what she's here for. She's a voice, and sometimes with that comes the consequences of not getting some of the prizes that you get at the from the mainstream, and that's okay.
And on that point, because I adore her, and last night she was Twitter troll heads were rolling last night on Twitter. She says, but the abuse that she puts up with, and I couldn't believe some of the shit that people were tweeting to her, and I was like,
it's awful.
I mean, they were threatening. I mean, they're like, she's getting death threats last night. And it's just like, that's the world that we live in.
The Asian Twitter showed up, and Black Twitter got right behind them. And I think that solidarity is something that we all must learn. I think that when I think about poor white people who really believe that Donald Trump is their person, I feel bad for them because he doesn't identify with them. He's an elitist. I have a friend who's a comedian who he wouldn't even allow her to ride in an elevator with him. And I just think that they're really caught up.
That's very true. Very true. Even working on the show, when he would walk in, he would have like 6 bodyguards around him.
Yeah, he doesn't identify with farmers and.
Yeah, no. Even the people like in a closed party, like we'd be doing like the finale parties, nobody could get near him. And we're talking, it was just the cast and crew from the show. He would have 6 bodyguards around him.
No, I mean, and when we Hollywood people start talking about the frustrations of Hollywood, and I think about the average person that has to go to work every day at a towel mill, or our farmers that are providing us with our vegetables. I hear your frustration. I understand what you're going through. I go to work every day just like you. I don't live a celebrity lifestyle. I get it. I understand why people are so mad. I get it. But it's coming from media. It's coming from corporates. It's coming from everything. Everything is just trickling down, and people are just so frustrated and tired. And the people that are unheard, they don't have a voice. And now we're like, forget it. We everybody needs a voice. Everybody should be heard. And white people in trailer parks their lives matter just like everybody else's. And that people are not listening to the people. And so now you see Asian people, because Asian people receive a lot of privilege in America. They're perceived as the white minority. People look at Asian people and they're like, yeah, they're not like the black people. They're not like the Puerto Ricans. They work really hard and they build chips and shit.
They're intelligent.
But the truth of it is now that when it comes to this, they wake up and they say, oh snap, maybe we're not that special. Maybe we're only special when it comes to this. And those are the wake up calls. And I understand. I think it's disrespectful. I think Scarlett Johansson is brilliant and beautiful, and she can go play a white girl somewhere else. I guarantee
and think of how many other film offers I'm sure she gets just because she's Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. I think we're all in agreement here that actors should be held responsible for accepting those roles that they should not be accepting.
Look at the backlash when they suggested Idris Elba play James Bond. If you're saying that it's not, I don't understand this. They got mad, and James Bond isn't even real. When the Black Annie, Quavagene played Annie, I mean, death threats to a little girl for playing Annie. That Annie wasn't real. You're talking about Ralph Fiennes playing Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so disrespectful. That is just, that is actively just disrespecting somebody's legacy and saying, we don't care what you stand for. We're going to do what we want to do. And that the people are finally speaking.
Cool. So I think we're going to hear a word from our sponsors. We're going to break, and then we're going to come back and hear more about Aida's current projects and a little bit about her story.
Sure.
Let's do it, John.
All of us here at One on One with Jasper Cole are proud to announce our 25 affiliate advertisers, and they are all .coms. eFile, Interserver, ZipRecruiter, Hilton Hotels, 3-Day Blinds, Adam and Eve Toys, Bullguard, Prime Slots, Russell Stover, Booking.com, Suzanne Summers Bath and Beauty, Quest Nutrition, Sur La Table, and Extended Stay America.
Additionally, we have EUK Host, Canvas World, Cheap Air, 21st Century, Liberty Mutual, Course Smart, Advanced Auto, Fandango, Meet Mindful, Flair Play, and Jewelry.com. Thanks again to all of our wonderful sponsors. And now back to the show. We are back.
Great. So Aida, first of all, tell the audience where they can find you on social media so that we forget.
Okay. I know some of you angry people. I'm at Funny AIDA, Funny Aida, and I'll let you know in advance. I'm not angry. So if you come at me with anger, I'm not responding with it because I'm not angry. I'm really happy to be here. So Funny AIDA, that's my website, that's my Twitter, my Instagram, and on Facebook I'm an Aida.Rodriguez because somebody took my
Someone
name.
stole your name? Are they squatting?
Yeah.
Fun. Good times. So where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Florida. I grew up in Miami, Florida. Went to school in Tallahassee, so I lived from the southern to the northernest part of the state, knowing that there are two different countries going on in the state of Florida.
I was going to say.
Florida is very
And that's where Marco Rubio was from,
yeah,
right?
he went to the University of Miami, actually.
Oh, he did?
No,
Okay.
he went to the University of Florida. He's a Gator, and I'm a Seminole.
So you grew up
Okay.
in Tallahassee, but you moved to Miami?
No, I grew up in Miami, and I went to
Oh,
school in Tallahassee.
got
I went
it,
to
okay.
Florida State.
So when did you come out here?
Reverse.
I've been here now for 15 years.
Wow. And it's been a hustle.
It has been a
Because we
hustle.
first met, I want to say, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
It's been about 10 years ago. And through a mutual friend, Kim Coles, who
Yeah, my girl.
my girl too.
Yeah.
We fight over her.
No, you can have her fight.
I'm just joking. And so I mean, and then tell us a little bit about your journey here. I mean, did you always want to go into stand-up? Or
I've always wanted to be a stand-up comedian since I was a little girl. I've always been in the entertainment business. I've never done anything else. I initially started as a model. I was discovered when I was 14, and I started modeling, and then I got tired of being a model. It was just boring for me. I didn't feel like I developed an eating disorder. I was hungry all the time. I was taping Snickers to the inside of my thigh during my fashion shows, and they would melt, and that wasn't a good look. I'd get fired. So I quit, and I stopped, and I started acting, which is my core business is writing. Like writing is what everything has come from. So I'm an actress, and then Chris Spencer challenged me one time. We did a roast together for a birthday party, and he challenged me to start doing stand-up. And he said, "You are a stand-up. Naturally, you are, and I don't think you should deny yourself anymore." And so I went and did it. And I've been doing it ever since.
And so tell us a little about your writing, because you said everything's based on your writing.
Yeah, I'm a writer. I've written 4 movies that have been sold and distributed, and I write my material. I write other people's material. Some people pay me for it. Some people steal it. I've been writing since I was a little girl. I'm a new I will be starting in September. I'll have a column in Latina magazine.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So and I'm actually working on my own TV show right now. So I've always written. I love to write. It was my outlet, and growing up where I grew up, which was pretty rough, writing was my outlet.
So where do you draw your inspirations from?
Life, real life, people. I think that the funny thing about life is we get so caught up in the distractions of things like race and gender, but the human experience, what we all have in common, if you sit 10 people down, put blindfolds on them, and you listen to all of their stories, you will see that we all have a common journey, and we all have something that we want to overcome. That's called our childhood and our parents. And, we all want the same thing. Essentially, we all want the same thing, unless you are a socio or psychopath. The rest of us want the same thing. Those people want to eat dead cats.
Speaking of which, you just had a movie that just released yesterday.
Oh yeah, it's a play that they shot. I did with Alchemy and Swirl Films, and they have this brand. They do these plays, and I produced it, and I was in it. It was really, really interesting. It was a cultural experience.
This is with Lyric Ben and Jack A.
and Elise Neal and Angel Conwell and Amanda Seals, and it was really interesting because. It's not a genre that they have in the Latino market, but even though every single show on Spanish TV looks like a play, because everybody's so loud and obnoxious.
And it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah,
so.
it does.
And this is the Ladies Book Club?
It's called the Ladies Book Club. Please pick it up. It's at and you can get it on Amazon and FYE. You can get it on at Best Buy. And it was a very interesting experience for me. I got to work on stage with people who've been doing it for many years. I think Lyric and I were new to the stage play like that. And
he's a great actor. He actually just won a big award in Canada.
Yeah, he's a good actor. He was my coach.
Was he?
Yeah.
We worked with him. I actually traveled with him during the early Saw series. And he's a really, really good guy. So I'm glad you got to work with him.
Yeah, he's a great human. And I actually approached him to do the play.
Yeah.
And we were able to work it out. So it was a great experience. I'm very happy about doing it and being in the presence of those people.
And you have a couple other films that are.
Well, Billy came out yesterday, which is a short film
okay.
Directed by Omar Ellison, and it's a very dark film with Courtney Schuerman and Richard Lee Warren. Richard Lee Warren is a very good actor who's been working for many years. There are only 4 of us in the movie, and that was really fun. It was really fun.
So do you prefer TV? Do you prefer the comedy circuit? Do you prefer films? They're also different, right?
Stand-up is different. Stand-up is my therapy, and I'll do it forever. Just like George Carlin, I'll do it until I die. I love movies more than anything.
And go back to your stand-up. Who are some of your comedy inspirations? Yeah.
Richard Pryor and George Carlin, and a comedian named Alvarez Gede, who is a Cuban comedian. He passed away a few years ago, which is really interesting because one is Cuban, one is white, and one is black. I work all 3 markets. On one weekend, I did a show on Nickelodeon for stand-up. I did a BET show, and I did a show for Nuvo, the Nuvo Network, which is Latin. It says those are my 3. And I think it's because those 3 people, those 3 spirits guide me, and I live I live in a world where I can perform, I can work anywhere.
Well, your sets are very versatile. I think very diverse, I guess is a better term. But speak to a wide audience.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no.
And you're funny as hell.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And speak about being a female in the comedy circuit, which is I have a lot of respect for comedians that can go out there every weekend, night by night, work the clubs, because I have a lot of friends that have done it and clients. But for females,
it's a different beast.
No, not being sexist, but you guys put up with a lot of shit on the roads.
It's a different beast, and we work on. I think people don't understand. We want to work. I work just as hard as my male counterparts. I don't want any special treatment, but I also don't want to get raped on the road, which is something that I have to worry about that my male counterparts don't. They don't have to have security escort them to the car, and it's just a different reality for women. Absolutely. I feel like Charlize Theron in North Country all the time. I feel like I'm always fighting for my just due. We don't get paid as much. It's a different reality for women. And then you talk about a woman of color, and now you're taking it to a different level. And I've seen people walk up to the show and they'll see my picture and they're like, "Who is this? She's probably not funny," and I come into the show because they don't know who I am. Because I'm a woman, and I'm not a stereotypical woman, so it can be hard. But I love what I do, and I'm not complaining because I get to do what I love to do every day, and I roll up my sleeves and I go every day at it like with no excuses, you know.
And you actually you were on
Last Comic Standing.
Yes. Yeah. To tell us a little about that experience. I mean, it was. I love watching that show and watching the journey. I think it does a really good job of showing the behind the scenes and the judges keep it real. I mean, they really do. And just tell us a little bit. I mean, obviously, we talked a little bit earlier about reality shows. That is obviously a reality show. But what was your experience?
It was good. It was positive. Wanda Sykes and Paige Hurwitz made it a point to make sure that women of color and women were represented on the series. That doesn't mean that we got what we got because we were women or women of color. We had to be funny and bring the funny. But I think they did a good job in locating the comedians that were going to be able to come and bring it. It was challenging at times.
What was the audition process?
I auditioned, first of all, there were submissions and there were thousands and thousands and thousands of submissions. And so, and then I was one, I think the only Latin woman that made it to the show. Wow. And then, and I made it to the top 10. So, I felt, a great sense of responsibility because I had a lot of pressure. But it was a great experience for me, and it was life-changing. And ever since I did the show, so many other opportunities.
It's been a game changer for you.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think in some
respects,
you've become a household name in a lot of households, and I'm sure it opened a lot of doors for you.
Yeah, it did, and I'm very thankful because Wanda was great.
I love her,
and I love her too. So it was just.
I think she needs to go back to. I wasn't the biggest fan of her late night show. I didn't like the format of it, but I love her, and I love watching her specials. And I think that she has a place in late night. Yeah. I just think it just needs to be a different format. But I really wanted to see her back on TV. Yeah,
no, I love her. I want to see her on television too. She's definitely.
And it's good. It's been great to see Roseanne come back.
That's my girl. I'm still in touch with her. Actually, I just texted her yesterday. She's going to be in Hawaii. I have a show on Sunday for homeless moms that I'm doing at the Hollywood Improv. Okay. And I wanted Wanda to come perform and Roseanne. And none of them are available. Margaret sent me boxes and boxes of stuff for the women, which is why I said.
So tell us about that. What is the show on Sunday?
Well, this weekend, I have a weekend. You know how celebrities do their own weekends and they have parties and stuff. So I was homeless. And so for me, homelessness is... it's linked to so many other things like depression and sexual violence and all that stuff. So my weekend that I decided to do was not a celebrity weekend. It's a weekend to honor 35 women who are homeless.
Well, it's Mother's Day this weekend as well, right?
Yes. Awesome. So Saturday, I am taking them to breakfast with their children. And we're hosting a breakfast for them. Latina Magazine is sponsoring quite a few people. And then on Sunday, we're hosting a comedy show for them at the Hollywood Improv.
What time is that going to be?
7:30 p.m.
Okay.
And Laurie Kilmartin from Conan O'Brien's show, Felicia Michaels, and Tiffany Haddish, who's in Keanu. Yeah. And is on the Carmichael show. They're going to do the show with. They're my sisters. We're all my girls.
Oh, fun. Okay. Love it. So 7:30 this Sunday at the Hollywood Improv.
Yeah, to honor the moms. So.
Excellent way of giving back.
I think it's important to never forget.
And so, what else do you have going on? I'm excited for that.
Oh well, I went.
Your 2 movies just come out. Yeah. You're on the road. You're doing this amazing Mother's Day weekend, giving back. I mean, what aren't you doing?
I have. I did a movie where Robert De Niro and Taylor Hackford directed, and it comes out next year. And hopefully, I don't get cut out. It's called The Comedian. It's about stand-up.
Oh wow!
Cool. And Taylor Hackford, and they handpicked me for the movie, saw me perform. And he called me, and I didn't know who he was, and then I Googled him. I knew the name. But I was.
Well, he directed Ray.
Yeah, but no, beyond that, he directed The Devil's Advocate, which is one of my movies. Okay. And I was like, I know this name. I know who he is.
Married to Helen Mirren.
That's what I didn't know. What I didn't know was that he was married to Helen Mirren. When I Googled him, I was like, oh my God, I need to get it together. This is important.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was a great experience for me. I had a horrible set, and it was very, it was a great lesson for me.
So what do you do in your free time?
I have been writing because I'm working on developing some stuff, some TV shows, and with my management. So we've been working on just writing. I haven't really had that much free time because I'm bi-coastal now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I go back and forth. On Monday, I'll be on the nightly show on Comedy Central on the Larry Wilmore show. A lot of you are mad at him because of his
the White House Correspondents' Dinner, right?
The Correspondents' Dinner. But those of you that
and
are
what did
not
you
mad,
think of it? Because I actually read a great interview that he gave today. Well, he approached it as a roast.
Yeah, he did. I mean, they always do. I think that.
And I thought it was supposed to be like that.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, a lot of black people. Ernie Hudson spoke out against him using the N-word. I think that, I think it's when it comes to comedians and people and their censorship. It's a very sensitive thing. The issue with Barack Obama or President Obama is that there's been so much disrespect. There's been so much racism. There's been so many issues with him that no other president has ever dealt with because he's the only black one. That people are very overprotective of him, and using the N-word as a term of endearment didn't go over with. I wasn't offended. But then their argument would be from some people is that, well, you're not one of us, But I am a person of color, and I mean, I thought that the speech was sharp, and it hit hard, and I thought it was funny, and I thought that the people that weren't laughing were sour asses who know that he was telling the truth.
But I guess playing devil's advocate, from my perspective, let's say being a gay male, I hate the word faggot. And to hear that, because I always go back to being, bullied when I was younger growing up. And I think it's very disrespectful for other gays to call each other that within the gay community. And of course, anybody who's not within the community to say that to anybody else. So, and that's always when I hear, the N-word being used, to me, it's so derogatory. And I have so many African-American friends, and it's just... I mean, I could see why it'd be upsetting, although I know the context. He wasn't coming from a malicious place.
No, and I think it's different when it comes to. I think it's very different when it comes to a family matter, and I think that that's what that is. I mean, black people being offended by that, and I understand their argument, but I think that is an argument that should sit with them, whereas. White people get so riled up about it, but I think a lot of the people that were mad is because they can't say it, not because they're offended by it, because they probably say it at home. But what I'm saying is, like, I have two Jewish friends who are comedians, and they call each other the K word all the time. I don't do it as a joke. I don't think it's funny. I don't use the N word in my stand up. I just don't think it's funny, and I don't want to use it. But I'm not gonna. I just think I think everything is so sensitive when it comes to black people right now. And I think that Larry Wilmore saying what he said, it was just taken to, I think what he said before that was what really offended people. And that was just what they could use to say, this wasn't right. But at the end of the day, I think that
I think also for him too, he's getting a lot of criticism. A lot of people don't like him taking over the show. I think people were really just kind of keep their eye on him, waiting for him to just mess up.
Yeah.
But he should have known that was going to happen. But once again, it's also the context of the situation.
I mean, I just think he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. And I think that he has to roll with the choice that he made. And you know what? In a week, nobody's going to care because Donald Trump is going to have sex with his daughter, and everybody's going to be talking about that.
Oh my God! Actually, he did talk about that on was it Howard Stern?
He said if his daughter wasn't his daughter, he would date her.
I do like his daughter. I think she's beautiful. I think
she is
well-spoken and smart. And did she work on The Princess when you were?
Yeah, she was on the show.
When you were
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like her too. I don't. His sons, I don't care for.
I don't care for the sons either.
But
well, his sons also are, big game hunters.
Yes.
And that really bothers me. That says a lot about somebody who can go onto a reservation or,
A protected space.
A protected space and hunt an animal for sport.
Yeah.
You know, just it's the mentality. It's like, really, do you need to go into
and
this
I know
fence
people
area
are
to
tired of hearing the word privilege, but that's what privilege does. It
Right.
makes you feel like you're invincible, you're immortal.
Right.
You don't have any level sense of accountability. You don't always.
I'm gonna go spend
entitlement,
$100,000 to go shoot.
Yeah. I mean, to do that, just to say specifically animals that are, you know, are at danger or risk of becoming extinct. Just to say, you know what, I want to be the one to end that. It's just a mentality of destruction and narcissism that is really, you know, it's dangerous.
It is. We have about 5 minutes
Oh,
remaining. I know
wow.
this show just flew by. We missed Jasper. Jasper's out recovering from back surgery.
Wow.
And today we're filling in. This is John Williams, and I have Dominic Friesen here with me, and the beautiful, talented, and insightful
Aida
Aida
Rodriguez,
Rodriguez,
who has a lot
yes.
going on. So tell everybody where they can find out more information about your project and your shows, your social media and website, and all that good stuff.
FunnyAida.com, AIDA.com. When is this going to air?
It's airing live
Actually
right now.
live.
And then
Guys.
it syndicates out on Friday.
So if you're in
let's give it a
LA
shout out actually to our Detroit listeners. by the
Oh,
way.
you know what? Let me tell you something. The Pistons, that's my basketball team. I'm from Miami, but I've been a Pistons fan.
Yeah.
And people don't understand why. So Detroit, I love you.
WRLM.
I love you, Detroit. And so I'm with you, and I know what's going on in Michigan, and my heart is with you. And as soon as I get some money, I'm sending it to you, because that's what people do that really care.
And actually, speaking of Flint, Obama's there today.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw Air Force One, but to have Governor Snyder, who in my opinion should be in a jail cell, he and Karen Weaver, the mayor of Flint, greeting Air Force One is just so infuriating. You know, it's like they're the welcome wagon, and they shouldn't, number one, not be in office anymore, and number two,
they shouldn't be free.
they should not be free. And it's just, I can't believe that this is still going on, and I know it's not a federal, you know, I think that there's limitations on the federal level, but there's got to be some type of recourse to step in and bring justice. It's infuriating. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, because I'm right there with you. And, you know, like, you know, people, there's a Flint all over the country. It's not the water, it's the resources, it's the education, it's the real estate. It's just what's going on in this country right now with the gap between the haves and the have-nots. It's getting wider and wider. And I understand the frustration. So I just think that, you know, each one teach one. We all are accountable for each other.
Do you think Bernie's going to be able to bridge that gap?
I think Bernie, unlike any other candidate, has really united, just generations of people and different communities. I mean, I went to the rallies here in LA, and it was invigorating. It was inspiring. I mean, there was people from all ages that are they just have a sense of hope again.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
one thing I will say about Bernie is that when he speaks, I believe him. And
Your truth meter, right?
Yeah, I just really believe him. I think that I don't think he cares. I think he's like, he's at the point where he's like, do you see what's going on here? It's like when a house is in chaos and the father is like, you know what? I'm about to rip this place to shreds and we're going to start from scratch. And that's what I see when I see him. Like when people are like, he's crazy. I don't think he's crazy. But I think you're always going to be called crazy when you want to pioneer a movement.
Well, you got to remember, think of what he's up against. He's been, you know, I don't want to get on my soapbox, but media blackouts for months. They would not cover him. Mainstream media, they distorted the truth. He's fighting against the establishment. I mean, and he's coming out on top.
Are you crying?
Yeah, no, I just get so passionate about it.
Oh
but
my God, he's crying. Bernie, you had her. Helen Hong, my other Canadian friend, she campaigned heavily, and she did a whole sketch about him. But I just think that, you know, we could use some people who actually care about people in office. That's what we really could use. And I you know,
feel the burn. But on that note, thank you so much, Aida, for coming in. It's been so amazing to catch up. And you can catch us here every week, Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific. And then, of course, we repeat on Fridays out of Detroit.
And I'm going to end the show a little differently tonight. I'm going to play a video, actually. You can watch it on YouTube. It's by Prince E. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's called I Am Not Black, You Are Not White. And it pretty much summarizes a lot of what we talked about today on the show. So I want to go out with that. And we want to thank you all for listening, and we will see you back next week.
And get well, Jasper.
Get well.
Get well, Jasper. I want to see you. Stand up straight.
Thanks for checking out One-on-One with Jasper Cole. Check out past episodes and get the latest as they're released. Subscribe today on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube.